Yo, 2025 was arguably the most bullish year for Bitcoin's fundamentals in its history, but not for the price. To understand what comes next in 2026, we need to understand why 2025 surprised everyone. In 2025, we saw a new all-time high, the election of the first pro-Bitcoin president, the strategic Bitcoin reserve executive order, US states creating strategic Bitcoin reserves, the fight between Core and Knots, the fight for Bitcoin's soul, the SEC, the CFTC, alignment with Bitcoin, ending Operation Choke Point 2.0, the freedom of Ross Ulbricht, the persecution of the Samurai Wallet developers, a boom in Bitcoin treasury companies, nation state accumulation, sovereign wealth funds accumulating Bitcoin, Wall Street products launch for Bitcoin, Genius Act pass, 3 green, 1 red meme officially broken. Let's dive deep into each one of these in a little bit more detail. But before we dive into our 2026 predictions and what could potentially come next for Bitcoin. Anyways, I'm going to open it up here with my brother in arms. 2025 was a crazy year, not only for Bitcoin, but here for us here at Simply Bitcoin as well. It's been a wild ride, and today is the last episode of 2025. So if you guys are in Australia, Happy New Year's already. If you guys are going to celebrate your new year later on today, Happy New Year's. Tomorrow we will be taking a day off, but before that, let's get into today's show. So let's start going down memory lane. 2025 started off extremely strong, Opti. I believe that was the euphoric phase of the cycle. We were dropping live streams in January. We had over 1,000 people just on YouTube alone watching us, thousands of people across all platforms. And we had all these hopes because Operation Choke Point 2.0 was officially over. We had the election of the first pro Bitcoin president, Donald J. Trump. And I'll be honest with you, like from a Bitcoiner's perspective, no, you know what? F that. It's New Year's. From an American perspective, first generation American, and someone who was voted for the GOP, I got to say, I'm just disappointed overall, right? He built a coalition that was so strong. You had moderate Democrats, RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard. Of course, you had Donald Trump going in there. And yes, a lot of good things were done from a regulatory perspective. We did get Ross free. Was it better than Kamala? You could say it was, but I think what 2025 proved was that the swamp, the administrative state, it doesn't matter the best team that you can build. I think it's so entrenched that I think the only way we're going to get out of this is through individuals taking Bitcoin into self-custody. I don't think politicians are going to come and save the day. You can't build a better coalition that Donald Trump had at the beginning of the year. He had Elon Musk going in there, auditing the government, and Doge got ran out of town. Elon got ran out of town. Not to mention Trump's meme coin launch, right? The day that he was inaugurated, that really didn't help the case. So let's talk about that, man, because I think a lot of people had high hopes. The industry sunk a lot of money into getting this person elected. And 2025 just proved that, look, like, you know, I think the people that we elect into office aren't really the people who are calling the shots. They're not really the ones that have influence in Washington. And, you know, Bitcoin does fix this, but at least we tried the traditional route. Like we tried, you know, what you're supposed to do. And it doesn't matter how good the team was. They were only able to accomplish so much. And the Clarity Act hasn't been passed yet, I might add. The only act that was passed, and it was passed quite fast, was the Stablecoin Act. And as much as I
wonder why,
and as much as I like, you know, as much as I like you know, some of these companies behind these stable coins because they're Bitcoiners, um, Of course, the government is going to pass that because it's a continual it's a continuation of the dollar. Like it allows them to expand the dollar worldwide across borders, which that translates to their ability to print even more money, Opti. So, yeah, man, I mean, you were a little bit more black pilled in the beginning of the year, but at least me, I had to go and experience it because I got to say, it has been quite a disappointing year from that perspective. And the last thing I'll say though, too, also is maybe I would feel different if the price was making all-time highs. Maybe I would tell you a totally different story, but first pro Bitcoin president, and we have our first red year in the year after the halving. Like, that's not cool, bro. You know? So, anyways, overall, definitely some pluses, but the most important thing, which is number go up, not so good.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, just kind of looking back, look, throughout the year, we kept kind of mentioning a very similar theme where 2025 just seemed like we just had bullish news after bullish news, and every time we got bullish news, the price would drop, and we were all wondering like, what the hell is going on? This should be making Bitcoin rip right now. Again, rehashing some of the stuff. We got a lot more. And I said it in the throughout the whole year. I'm not the biggest fan of regulatory clarity, but that's what the industry asked for. Price would dump. We got the SEC kind of on our side, CFTC kind of on our side. Of course, the Trump administration on our side, Scott Bessent hanging out at Bitcoin bars. Like everything was kind of going in our direction in terms of a lot of the foundations built for Bitcoin to take the next step forward. I know there was a kind of conversation going on earlier in the year where Bitcoiners were, I think, maybe mad about the institutions coming in. They were looking at the space and being like, oh, Bitcoin's selling out. This is not what we wanted, cypherpunk revolution, et cetera, et cetera. And then there was the other faction that was basically saying, I think Bitcoiners knew that this was the inevitable way that Bitcoin would take over. Now, of course, even though we got a bunch of good news, especially all starting with Trump announcing their in quotes, pro Bitcoin term here, it really sparked the wave around the world. We literally saw other nation states start to make moves, sovereign wealth funds start to make move, Wall Street go full force into it. And so I really do believe it does feel like a maybe crossing the Rubicon moment. Like this is Bitcoin entering the mainstream. This is Bitcoin growing up, maturing as a money, as an asset. And at the same time, what we did see, which is one of the more bullish things, and I am going to touch on kind of the politics around Bitcoin this year, but what we did see that I thought was extremely bullish throughout the year was how resilient the Bitcoin price was. Obviously, we did hit an all-time high. There's been a lot of theories on why Bitcoin, barely broke out past all-time highs. And why we are currently stuck in this 80 to 90K range. But on the flip side, what we did see this year was literally hundreds of thousands. Again, hundreds of thousands, if not like a million coins hitting the exchanges, either from OG sellers going into Wall Street products, or maybe them just kind of locking in some gains, knowing it was going to top out 126. And at the same time, Bitcoin has been essentially a stable coin all year. If you look at the past in Bitcoin's price movement and bear markets and like huge sell-offs, Bitcoin has dwarfed all of that this year and still maintains a very strong price base. So even though we didn't see Bitcoin go absolutely parabolic this year, which is, I was wrong. I'll eat my cake on that one. I know there's a lot of Bitcoiners that will kind of cope with the idea like one Bitcoin equals one Bitcoin, bro. I'm like, yeah, that's cool, but my purchasing power is down. Like, what, yeah, one Bitcoin equals one Bitcoin, but I'd like my purchasing power to increase over time. And we didn't see that this year. I think I saw this morning, we're down like 7% on the year or something like that. I can fact check that, but essentially, it does feel like 2025 was the bear market this year. Now, it will be completely unprecedented if we see another red candle on 2026, which would fundamentally break every Bitcoin model. And then we really have no clue what's going on here. We're really going to be scrambling to understand what is happening in Bitcoin. But personally, I'm not so convinced that's going to happen. And so again, Bitcoin has eaten up so much selling this year, and we're still roughly hanging out around 100K, which we've never seen that happen before. If we saw the amount of Bitcoin dumped in the past, like we would be at like 1K if there wasn't this incredible amount of Bitcoin buying from these very big institutions, from the very people that you may not like, but they're here. They want to acquire Bitcoin. I fundamentally believe they were trying to shake you out of your Bitcoin position. And I think it worked for the most part on a lot of people. I think they did a very good job of entering the market at 100K, getting a 20-30% discount. And now we'll see what happens going into 2026. But before, we do start making our 2026 predictions, the politics stuff, look, you guys know me. At the beginning of the year, I was way more skeptical around Bitcoin and politics than Nico was. And then kind of as we saw all this news start to roll out, I did get a little more bullish. I did get a little hopeful. I'm like, oh, this sounds good. All of this sounds really good. I'm totally on board with people embracing Bitcoin because that's what I want to see. I want to see more people using Bitcoin. And I thought for, maybe the first half of the year, like, oh, more people are going to wake up to the fact that they need Bitcoin. What did we see happen this year? It seemed like retail was nowhere to be found. Wall Street entered the space. Retail completely checked out. And you could argue there's probably a few different, reasons for that. I think the main one was the last couple of cycles, they probably all got absolutely wrecked with shit coins. And not only that, the economy is kind of struggling for most people. So they're looking at Bitcoin like, I'm not trying to get rug pulled. I can barely feed my family right now. Like, what are we talking about? I'm not going into this thing. So again, retail's been gone. Institutions have been eating up all the Bitcoin. And so it really kind of made me wonder around the summertime of, all right, well, is all of this actually good for Bitcoin? And I think that's kind of the big question that we're all asking ourselves. It's like, is it good to have politicians start to embrace Bitcoin? And you guys saw me like, I think it was like a month ago or no, actually like 2 weeks ago, I like completely crashed out. I was like, I'm tired of Bitcoin and politics. Like they haven't done anything good for us though. Obviously, I was being a little harsh. They have done some good things.
No, but it's been on the edges, and it's been on the edges, and it really it's been on the edges, and it comes with conditions, right? It's conditional, right? And I have some really interesting source material from you guys from Davidson, which again, pro Bitcoin candidate in the House. Or House representative, and he has some takes. And then I have a take from Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie Taylor Greene's not going to be running for re-election next year. She essentially got pressured outside of the House, and Marjorie Taylor Greene was one of the strongest kind of America First proponents, right? Like she was extremely popular, extremely vocal. A lot of people knew her. And let's check out these two posts because I think a lot of the shenanigans that have happened this year, they've been promoted to the industry as being positive for the industry, but once you look underneath the hood, it isn't all that great. So let's start off with this one. What's going on in crypto? Flat or declining markets? Definitely a vibe shift. A few thoughts. Markets have stalled, in my opinion, because the disintermediation use case has been effectively destroyed in America. An account-based industry offers no distinct advantage over the status quo. A toxic combination of regulatory and legal malfeasance combined with legislative inertia have caused capital flight and user avoidance in America. In 2025, Genius Act became law, providing a federal framework for stablecoins. This is an account-based approach favored by banks that prevents non-banks from paying interest, fails to protect self-custody, and by design enables a wholesale CBDC. The wholesale part is cosmetic. On the bank end, all of the other characteristics of a CBDC are being built while the massive deficits that undermine the value of the dollar continue unabated. Stablecoins offer the hope of more demand for US treasuries, which may help lower interest rates and more broadly distribute the monetization of federal interest payments on our massive debt and deficits. Meanwhile, the broader digital asset market still awaits passage of the Clarity Act by the Senate, along with providing some overly cumbersome legal clarity for tokenized commodities, tokenized securities, and tokenized real world assets. Clarity promises to fix some of the deficiencies in Genius by protecting self custody and incorporating other House provisions. Ultimately, if the Senate even passes a bill, I expect any nod to individual freedom will be cosmetic and pose no meaningful change to the account based regime. The future of money will determine the future. Without massive divine intervention, that future looks permissioned, surveilled, and debased. Remember, the promise of Bitcoin was not an illiquid inflating asset, but a rather permissionless peer to peer payment system. With Bitcoin, no third party could condition your access to your money, and you can move it anywhere at the speed of light. Account based HODL dominance has led to some useful innovations, but they are highly threatened, as already noted, and punctuated by men in jail for writing software to protect self custody and privacy. At some point, the industry and government will offer digital ID to grant permission to their permission network for money. Do not be deceived. This is a cosmetic illusion of freedom designed to enable more surveillance, coercion, and control. We need to reject this globalist surveillance state and return to first principles. No government grants you permission to transact, and no government should infringe this right without probable cause and due process. Returning to this condition requires either wholesale rejection of a third party doctrine or strong legal protection, privacy, decentralized computing architecture like Bitcoin or Zcash that build trust in ways that limit surveillance and always protect self custody. I've pushed for such a future since 2017, but most of the momentum looks like account based dominance with some cosmetic nods to individual freedom. Now, I want to talk about this. What does he mean by account based dominance? The whole point, the reason that Bitcoin is so powerful is its peer to peer technology, is its ability for individuals to take self custody. The way the government has power is it relies on intermediaries to be enforcers, right? When you have an account, right, you have an account with a third party. The way that I always describe it to people is like a bank account is essentially a two of three multi-sig, where you hold one key, the state holds another key, and the bank holds another key. So you basically always need to ask permission from the other key holders to use that two of three multi-sig setup. And that's how they get so much power over your life. Now, what's moving forward in Europe, what's moving forward in Australia is they're tying this digital ID. Australia just announced this, by the way, where in order just to access Google, you need to have a digital ID. Right. And that's exactly what's moving forward. Now, what's disappointing about the Trump administration is regardless of all of the lawsuits and all the lawfare that he had to endure, regardless of all of that BS that we saw over the last 4 years, regardless of Operation Choke Point 2.0, regardless of the fact that the Bitcoin industry donated tens of millions of dollars helping him get elected, we're still in this situation, which tells me, by the way, that the people we elect aren't really the ones making these very strong and powerful decisions. And it seems like there is so much momentum heading down this path that it's like the elections are like, it's basically like, look, we're going to placate you guys. We're going to make you guys feel good. Like you guys have power. You guys have the ability to determine your own fate. But what I'm seeing is like you couldn't have built a better coalition even if you tried. and it still failed. Like, think about this year. We had more wars. We had more involvement on foreign policy than putting America first and putting the American people first. We essentially saw a growth in the swamp, not a decrease in the swamp. The federal spending hasn't been cut. Like, so then, but that's what he ran on. That's why we all voted for him, right? And then that leads me to the inevitable conclusion that, like, I don't think it's Trump. I think it's a system that is so entrenched and it's so powerful because it's literally funded by this endless money printer that I don't think we have any chance of really, really getting out of this system without opting out, without using Bitcoin. Bitcoin is really the only way to fix this. And when this inevitable fiscal situation blows up, I can't help but to look, they wouldn't be chasing these coercive mechanisms and coercive means, as Jeff Booth likes to put it. The reason the system is coercive because it's a system based on theft, essentially. It needs coercion in order to function. The reason they keep doubling down on this is because, again, like, the system keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse. Like, they expect you to go along, you know, be a good citizen and pay your taxes. But simultaneously, you know, if it wasn't for a 23-year-old with the camera, you know, there was literally tens of millions of dollars worth of fraud that was happening. And of course, I'm talking about, you know, what was happening in Minnesota, right? Here's a post by MTG. Very sad she's leaving. Another thing I'll say, too, is you had Bo Hines in the White House. He resigned. You had Senator Lummis, huge fan of hers. She's not running for re-election. You have MTG, big fan of hers. She's not running for re-election. Like, I'm telling you guys, like, there's so many, like, little data points that you're looking at that. You're like, what's going on here, right? So MTG sees very important read that most Americans have no idea happened this past year in Congress. I voted no on Genius Act because it hands power over to banks and federal regulatory framework of stablecoins, but opens the back door for a central bank digital currency. I voted yes on Clarity Act because it protects self-custody, allowing you to control your keys, and stops a third-party bank or exchange from freezing or seizing your accounts. But the Clarity Act is stalled in the Senate. Is that a coincidence? Like, President Trump, I know you got the question. I want to see the Samurai wallet guys get, you know, released, right? I want to see the Clarity Act get passed. Why is it that the Genius Act gets passed before the Clarity Act, right? It all comes down to incentives. Genius becomes law. Clarity and other good legislation like anti-CBDC have not. The real dangers lies in digital ID, CBDC, and no self-custody. You think you want to run a revolt over Somali scam daycare centers and continue funding of foreign wars. If the government puts digital ID and CBDC and control your keys, you won't be able to refuse to pay. You'll only be able to comply or go away. Like, this is where it's heading. Like, the whole world is heading in this direction. And it's interesting because we, the American people, explicitly voted not to head in this direction. But the people in charge behind the scenes, the bureaucrats, they have so much power that I think I would even go on a limb that they purposely sabotaged Trump's first year to get the Republicans out of power in the House in 2026. Because what did they do? They would have won 2026 with flying colors if they just did all the things they promised instead of focusing on more wars, more spending, more this, more that. I was promised number go up. I was promised that Bitcoin was going to go to the moon.
Dude, we were promised 150 early in this presidency.
And none of that happened, right? So again, it goes back to kind of first principles. It goes back to the early days of Bitcoin where we were, back in 2017, 2018, where we had no approval from the powers that be. We need to go back to that. We need to go back to the idea of self-custody. We need to go back to the idea of really reclaiming back your financial sovereignty using Bitcoin the way it's meant to be used, which is peer-to-peer, which is you're taking self-custody of your keys, therefore your wealth, therefore your future. If you don't do that, you're going to it seems like this election had no consequence. And I'm not blaming Trump. I think there's a tremendous bureaucratic system, the deep state, the administrative state, that puts a tremendous it literally boxes him in. Like it's like he's a figurehead and he's definitely better than the previous figurehead and from the regulatory perspective, but there's only so much he could do. That's my theory of the case, man. I don't know.
So I finally got you to the dark side.
I guess so, bro. I guess I'm taking the black pill because, like, dude, like you could not have sent a better coalition into government even if you tried, and it still didn't do anything.
Yeah, Nico. While you were going right there, it kind of sparked two ideas. The first one is, obviously, I'm a peer-to-peer self-custody maxi. I believe that that's the way. I think what this year did kind of show us is that most people really either they don't understand what self-custody is, they're afraid to do it, or they just don't care. And I think that is one of the more kind of black pill observations that we saw this year is like Wall Street comes in, everyone just starts buying ETFs and buying Bitcoin treasury companies. And the whole year we've been screaming, it's like, yo, all you need to do is buy Bitcoin and take it into cold storage, hold the keys for yourself. And everyone's like, yeah, cool story, bro. I want to buy these Bitcoin treasuries. I want to buy these ETFs. And, maybe it's because that's just what they're familiar with. Maybe it's because they don't understand what the implications are, where they can actually get hurt doing it. Or, people just want convenience and they're lazy and they just they don't want to kind of take those quote unquote unnecessary risks and do something that they're unfamiliar with. I don't know. The whole year we've been watching and being like, man, why is everyone buying all this stuff? They should just be buying Bitcoin directly. Like, where's the spot Bitcoin? Of course, we had the paper Bitcoin summer meme going on all year long. And, it was a good meme because that's exactly what happened. Now, the second part of it is, I think the kind of silver lining of all of this, like all the things that Nico kind of laid out, the more optimistic view of what we saw happen in 2025, I think is that many people are waking up to the fact that the institutions are losing trust right now. A lot of people are losing trust in these institutions, and it's really, overall probably going to be a lot more pain before it's better. But from a Bitcoiner's perspective, from someone that's been doing this since 2017, or rather, I've been doing this since I was like 18 before I even found Bitcoin. I was never really the biggest fan in the institutions. I never really trusted any of the official kind of narratives, institutions, kind of the official Overton window perspective of things. I've always been the contrarian black sheep of my friends saying like, bro, this is all fake. This is all broken. And what I did see throughout the year was many, for lack of better terms, just like normies looking at everything, and they're going through the kind of the initial phase of, like denial. They're like, no, but we can fix this. Like, if we just have more government, we can fix this. If we just vote the right people in place, we can fix this. If only the smart right people were in control of the money, we could fix this. And I think by the end of the year, a lot of people are waking up to like, it's either that the system is so broken, it's unfixable, or the system is designed in such a way that we, the people, lose out. And that's not just in America. That's just in general, globally, around the world. And so, like, the more optimistic view of this, in my opinion, is maybe 2025, not just in terms of Bitcoin, like 2025 in terms of Bitcoin, I think it was definitely a foundational year. It was definitely a year that things changed. But from like a global consciousness perspective, maybe 2025 was the year that people essentially wake up on a mass scale to not only the corruptions but the cracks in the system, and that things need to change. I think that's been kind of one of the bigger things I've seen, definitely from both sides of the aisle in politics. Like people that are really political, they're like, yo, even if we get our people in this, nothing's going to change. Like, what's the point of this? We need something different. And so that's kind of my more like silver lining take on all this. I think a lot of people are finally waking up to just where we actually are right now. And I think next year might be more in alignment of people waking up to what are the steps that we actually need to, you know, prosper, live better, to actually change things. And of course, from our perspective, we think it is mainly, not mainly, obviously, it's one of the pillars is Bitcoin. It's like you need a better money.
It is the only pillar, guys. And I'll say this, like 2025 was the year that essentially we discovered, you know, the collective consciousness, except for Opti, I guess. We
did 42 IQ wins. I was ahead of the curve.
I have completely lost faith in the ability for elections to actually change the direction of the country. Like it's impossible. The system is too entrenched. It's powered by the money printer. That misaligns the incentives. Bitcoin fixes this, but not in the traditional sense. Bitcoin fixes this only if the majority of people who are buying Bitcoin as individuals are taking that Bitcoin and taking it into self-custody. If enough of us do that, we will fundamentally change the system without having to even go through the system, right? Which is why you see them scrambling and running at full speed to really launch this central bank digital currency system tied to the digital ID. And then what they want you to do is, because they don't even want you accessing the internet without having your ID tied to that, right? And the reason they don't want you doing that is because, again, they're getting embarrassed on social media left and right. You see politicians basically, you know, say a certain narrative about what's going on, and then all of a sudden they're getting debunked on the internet by you know, 23-year-olds or 24-year-olds with an X handle and a large following, right? They don't even want that. They want to go back to the old world where essentially they were able to control the narrative with the legacy media outlets. I think one of the things that we've learned over the last 4 to 5 years is that legacy media is not in the business of telling people what the news is. They're in the business of narrative control, right? And this is why social media has become so popular. This is why Joe Rogan has become so popular. This is why individual podcasters have become so popular. Now, I think we've made tremendous progress there in that disintermediation. But the battle to come is the disintermediation of money. And I think right now, this year, we've actually regressed more than the progress that we were making under the Biden administration, because at least during the Biden administration, we understood that we were being attacked. We thought we Trojan horse them. What in reality happened, we got Trojan horsed as an industry. There has never been a year today than less people taking self-custody, than less people using individual wallets. The ETF is a Trojan horse for slavery, right? The Bitcoin treasury companies, again, it's, what does Simon Dixon call of this? These are tools
of financial mass destruction.
Of financial mass destruction. And I think Bitcoiners, and I'll be first to say this, right? We got bamboozled this year. We got in the room in DC, but I don't think people realize how powerful DC is. I don't think people realize how much influence DC has, right? And there's only a couple of people in the House. I don't even know in the Senate. In the Senate, again, we lost the Bitcoin senator. You lost her. She's not running for re-election next year. Like, it's a big disappointment. It's a very, very big disappointment. And again, I'm not blaming Senator Lummis. I think she's done such an incredible job and work for our industry. But again, she's going like, it's like she's pushing a stone. She's trying to push it. She's not only trying to climb Mount Everest, she has literally 100 pounds on her back while trying to climb Mount Everest at the same time. Like, that's the task at hand, right? And the way that the Senate is structured, the way that the House is structured, it's like, it's not just about having one pro-Bitcoin candidate. You need the majority of Bitcoin. You need majority of Bitcoin candidates, and it's deeper than that. You need the majority of these politicians being actual Bitcoiners. Because I think what happened, and I think the clash that happened was, it's not about being pro-Bitcoin. It's about being a Bitcoiner. Because if you're not a Bitcoiner, you fundamentally believe that the dollar system still works. And that's the problem. That's the problem. And I think that's what we learned this year, man. You know? So if we are to get like a synopsis of 2025, like what the hell happened? It's that I think we've come to the inevitable conclusion that, listen, you're not going to change this system from within. It's not going to happen. It's too powerful. It's too structured. It's too entrenched. It's too well-funded. It does not matter. It's going to do whatever it can and will do in order to ensure that it still has a complete control and monopoly over money. That's the inevitability. That's what's going to happen. That's what this year proved. And it also proved that it doesn't matter who you elect in, how powerful the coalition is. It doesn't matter. I mean, you saw this. You saw Dan Bongino going into the FBI, and everyone was super pumped because, you know, this guy was basically saying all the quiet part out loud on his podcast. And we're like, oh man, this is so awesome. I'm so pumped. This is going to be fantastic. This is going to be great. And then within 2-3 months later, you know, he's on a legacy media outlet and he's getting interviewed. He looks like he has that 1,000-yard stare. And he's like, what are you talking about? There is no list. It's like, and then 6 to 7 months later, guess what? They release a list. So there was a list. Right? Like, oh, and then when the list gets released, it's retracted. Like, it's comical, man. But again, I can't, it can't be, I can't question the morality of Dan Bongino. I can't question the morality of Donald Trump after everything that he went through. I can't question the morality of RFK Jr. I can't question their principles. I can't question their ethics. I think they get in there, man, and that system is so entrenched, it's so bureaucratic that they just can't fight against it. That I think that's what happens, bro. It's inevitable. There's this very famous clip of Vladimir Putin when they ask him about American politics, and he's basically like, look, here's what ends up happening. You get these amazing candidates, they get elected, they have such high hopes for changing the country, and then all of a sudden they get a knock on the door, and these men in suits come in and they say, actually, this is how things actually work. This is how things actually function. Right?
Yeah, that was a crazy clip.
So, like, I think this is exactly what happened to the Trump administration as well, man. Because think about it. What changed from January to now? Like, how did you, unless you're trying to make the argument that he essentially lied to us the entire time. He lied to get elected. Maybe you could make that argument.
I just might make that argument. Anyways, before we go to the next segment, Nico. Let's do a quick, what do you think is going to happen in 2026? I'm feeling bullish for 2026. I don't think we're going to have a red year. We might see some volatility in Bitcoin, but I think we're going to end the year positive.
I think that Someone's saying Nico getting on the Simon Dixon choo-choo train. Absolutely, man. I mean, Simon Dixon OG, I think he's way ahead of us on this end. For me, it's a black pill year. Opti's been black pilled since
I've been very not black pilled. I've been very orange pilled all year long. I just wasn't the biggest fan of politics. Okay. So 2026, where do you think we're going, Nico?
I think the 4-year cycle's intact. And I think that by mid next year, we might start seeing Bitcoin start crawling up to higher highs. That's my base case. I don't think we're going to have a 80 to 70% drawdown because this cycle never peaked on euphoria. It peaked on apathy.
So year ends on red or
year ends on green, bro, because we're starting at such a low base. We're starting at 87,000. So if you're trying to tell me like next year Bitcoin is going to be lower than 87,000 by the end of the year, I don't think that's going to be the case. But we're starting from such a low bar, bro. Like, look, guys, 2026, 2025 was a bear market year.
Facts.
Right? Like we got our asses handed to us by gold and silver and the stock market. There's no other way to sugarcoat that. Like that's the reality. So yeah, base case next year, I definitely believe we're going to be above $87,000, right? Because like again, the year's almost over, bro.
I'm gonna stay bullish. I think we're gonna break all-time high next year.
All right, everybody.
I'm being contrarian at this point. If he's gonna be bearish, hey, we're breaking all-time high next year. Right. You heard it here first.
All right, everybody. We still have a great show in front of us. We got some clips for you guys. We got this interesting story coming out of Iran. And then the culture, we're going to go down memory lane and talk about how it was for Simply Bitcoin as a media company and what we've experienced is the ups and the downs. So we're going to be right back in just a bit. Today's episode is brought to you by Bitcoin Well Infinite. If you're a serious Bitcoin buyer, you've probably hit the same wall. Most platforms make you give up custody just to play by the rules. Bitcoin Well Infinite fixes that. They're North America's only publicly traded non-custodial OTC desk listed on the TSX Venture Exchange, which means transparent operations and zero counterparty risk.
You buy Bitcoin, you take immediate control, period. For trades over $50,000, you get a dedicated executive Bitcoin advisor, competitive spread starting at 1%, and immediate delivery straight to your own wallet. No custody risk, no withdrawal fees, just institutional grade execution with full asset control. If you want to buy Bitcoin the right way, book a free consultation at bitcoinwell.com/OTC or email infinite@bitcoinwell.com.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, Stampseed. Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Are your seed phrases really secure? Stampseed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you'll need for you to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates. Instead of just writing them down on paper, paper is fragile. Titanium plates are strong. Your words are actually stamped into the titanium plate with this hammer and these letter stamping tools. Once the words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamp seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They're also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. And now you can customize your titanium seed plates. You can upload your design or logo and they will laser engrave it on the back of your seed plate, the opposite side of where the words are. Stamp your seed on Stampseed and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the stampseed.com store. All right, everybody, we are back. At the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is $87,820. The block height is 930,307. Market cap 1.75 trillion. Bitcoin versus gold market cap 5.69%. Decline from all-time high, negative 30.4%. So interesting clip for you guys. I have a clip from Ray Dalio, And Ray Dalio, in one of his latest interviews, says that BTC is unlikely to be held by central banks. So I'm going to play the clip, and then I have a clip from Jamie Dimon. So let's check it out.
View crypto and the world of Bitcoin.
Bitcoin is limited in supply and its perception of money. It is a form of money. It's perceived as money, as a storehold of wealth. That is unlikely to be significantly held by central banks and many others because of a number of problems it has. It can't, transactions could all be followed in Bitcoin. One can monitor what the transactions are. Governments can monitor what the transactions are. And governments can interfere with those transactions. Just like we talked about earlier when we talked about, gold is the only asset that you can have that they can't mess with and control. You've got it. Okay. That's not true of Bitcoin. And then there are...
What's this boomer talking about?
And here's a video of Jamie Dimon.
Blockchain is real. It's been around for quite a while, but now it's becoming more effective, more efficient because people are finding ways to do it faster and cheaper, permissioned or not permissioned. Smart contracts, I think, will probably be real.
Yo, what year are we in, dude? It's like 2016 all over again.
Here's the thing. That's
crazy.
Those are the people in power.
These are the smartest dudes in the room.
These are the people in power. These are the people that have all the influence. And this is what they're saying. Right?
All I heard, because it was like Charlie Brown, all I heard was Ray Dalio say Bitcoin is money. That everything else was bullshit. That's all I heard.
But Ray Dalio is interesting because he's like, the problem with Bitcoin is that it's completely transparent.
I know, that's more like a feature, not a bug, bro.
So what are you saying? You need obfuscation?
And then you can stop transactions,
and then you can't stop gold transactions?
Yeah, you could totally attack a ship transporting gold. That's literally what war does.
Yeah. Yeah. No comment.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right, guys, look.
So,
I'm boomer friendly. I'm a boomer friendly person.
I love boomers.
But dude, we got to get the boomers out in control right now. They don't understand what is coming, bro. It's like boomers on Facebook with the AI slop. They think it's real, bro. It's like we're seeing the same thing happen in finance right now. They fundamentally don't understand the technology that is coming. Though I do think Jamie Dimon, I do think they understand it. They just don't understand the tech aspect of it. I think they understand the concepts of it. And Jamie Dimon, I think, is more interesting in the sense that if you listen to what he's saying, he's basically saying blockchain, all the things, tokenize all the things. It's like we're back to a 2016, 2017 shitcoin cycle, but just from a Wall Street level. It's absolutely insane. We saw they want to tokenize all the things now, and as Bitcoiners, we're just sitting here bro, just use Bitcoin. Just use normal tools, but have Bitcoin be the money, and that we're good to go. And we win, okay? And we all live better. It's not that difficult.
Yeah. Anyways, I do want to give a shout out to thank you for the 754 sats that have been zapped to us on Primal. So shout out to Jason and Vampire. But yeah, speaking of vampires, these people are vampires, bro. And they have all the power, they have all the wealth, and just it's crazy. It's crazy. But at least this year kind of exposed incentives, and I think that's kind of the silver lining out of all of this, out of going through all of this. Anyways, on a more positive note, we got an interesting case study.
Is it really that much more positive though?
Yeah, of course. On a more positive note, we have a very interesting case study, specifically with what's going on with Iran. The Iranian economy is not doing so hot. So what does the government do? Capital controls are kind of doubling down on all of that stuff. And this is where Bitcoin shines. This is what it's all about, right? This is what it's all about. This is what Bitcoin was made for. And I want to go back to those fundamentals because those fundamentals are what orange pilled me originally. I remember seeing Andreas Antonopoulos and all his lectures. They're still up online. You could find them. And they were so good. And it was all about freedom. It was freedom money. It was about taking back your sovereignty, reclaiming back your freedom through Bitcoin in self custody. And I think that this year, a lot of that message was forgotten, and we're bringing it back. We're bringing it back. So we're going to continue beating the battle drum and continue to remind you guys why Bitcoin and self custody is so important and why it's so empowering for you as an individual. Anyways, we're going to be right back in just a bit.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, Ledin, the leader in Bitcoin-backed loans. Unlock the liquidity in your Bitcoin without having to sell your Bitcoin. They've issued $9 billion in loans to over 10,000 customers since 2018. I absolutely love these guys. Not only do I have an account with them, but I also have a loan. And what I love about them is that there are no monthly payments, and you could pay back the loan at any time. As soon as you send your Bitcoin as collateral, you'll have cash in your account within 24 hours. Over 1,000 five-star customer reviews, and they've never lost a single dollar or sat of customer money. Go to learn.ledin.io/simply today, and you'll get 0.25% off your first loan. I want to give a shout out to our partner, sat123.com. Sovereignty isn't just about your money. It's about your communications too. When the grid goes down, most people go dark. Cell towers fail in hurricanes, cyber attacks, and blackouts. But satellite phones? They don't rely on local infrastructure. Iridium has 77 satellites in orbit, giving you a direct line anywhere in the US, even offshore. If you hold your own Bitcoin keys, you should hold your own comms too. Sat123.com also has everything you need to start building your Bitcoin citadel. Starlink, battery backups, Faraday bags to protect your hardware wallets, and much, much more. It's a one-stop shop for anyone serious about resilience and off-grid independence. Stay connected, stay independent, stay sovereign. Go to sat123.com/simply today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the store.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, BitKey. If you already self-custody your Bitcoin, you know the deal with hardware wallets by now. Complex setups, clumsy interfaces, and a seed phrase that can be lost, stolen, or forgotten. BitKey fixes that. BitKey is a multi-sig hardware wallet built by the team behind Square and Cash App. It packs a cryptographic recovery system and built-in inheritance feature into an intuitive, easy-to-use wallet with no seed phrase to sweat over. It's simple, secure, self-custody without the stress. Time named BitKey one of the best inventions of 2024. Get 20% off at bitkey.world. That's BITKEY.world with the code SIMPLY. All right, everybody, scan the QR code on your screen right now. It'll take you to bitkey.world. Use promo code SIMPLY. Again, promo code SIMPLY to get 20% off anything on the store. Reclaim back your financial sovereignty. Take self-custody of your Bitcoin. All right, everybody, let's get into today's article. Let's check this out. Iran's currency woes spark violence and protest. In Tehran, Iran, Iranian authorities used aggressive measures Wednesday in an attempt to halt the nosedive of the country's currency, making arrests, vowing to stamp out sidewalk money changers, and warning merchants against fueling the mounting public anger over the economy. There were unconfirmed reports of sporadic violence. Associated Press photos showed riot police blocking a street with the charred hulks of a garbage can and a motorcycle that had been set on fire. Smoke was rising from the area in central Tehran near the main bazaar. The sweeping responses to the free fall of the rial, which has lost more than a third of its value in a week, underscored the worries for Iranian leaders after months of dismissing the West's economic squeeze seeking to rein in Tehran's nuclear program. A declining currency causes shifts in an economy such as making imported goods more expensive. Although the currency crisis is blamed on a combination of factors, including internal government policies, the rush to dump rials appears to reflect an underlying perception that international sanctions have deepened problems such as runaway inflation and soaring prices for imports, and that the only safe hedge is to grab dollars or euros. If the economic turmoil intensifies, it could boost pressure on the ruling system before elections next June to pick the next president's successor. That has the potential to hinder nuclear talks with the West until after the elections. One of the president's main critics, Parliament Speaker, has led to the calls to blame the currency crisis mostly on allegedly misguided government monetary policies. Anyways, look, I'm going to tie this with Bitcoin like we always do. If you're in Iran, I've spoken to Iranian Bitcoiners also. Regardless of the country being sanctioned or going through any type of, political situation, you'd be okay because you have Bitcoin. You wouldn't have to deal with 1/3 of loss of your purchasing power. You wouldn't have to deal with the fear of your account getting frozen because of your political opinions, your political views. You'd be able to interact with the global economy seamlessly. This is what Bitcoin fixes. This is what Bitcoin is for. I recently received a wire transfer from another country, and it took 7 days. It was wild that it took that long. So again, I'm gonna pass it on to Opti. Opti, I want to hear your thoughts on this, bro, because like, you hear stories like that, and it's like Bitcoin fixes this, but as Bitcoiners, have we underestimated human nature? Like, is fiat, like is operating on fiat and using fiat part of the human condition? Like, is this going to be a multi-generational thing for people to understand Bitcoin and adopt Bitcoin and start using Bitcoin? Because I honestly think, like, it reminds me of the meme of like the Indian guru, and he was like, democracy is by the people, for the people, of the people. But the problem is that the people are regarded, right? Like, is that like, like,
Yes.
Bitcoin is amazing because it has absolute scarcity. It's censorship resistant. You could take self custody. But the problem with Bitcoin is that the people are regarded, right? The same thing apply.
Yeah, no, 100%. And look, obviously, when we cover currency devaluations, when we cover hyperinflation, when we cover these stories around the world, we always think of them as just humans, and you're always just like feeling for people that are in this position because of their governments, because of, as they said in that article, really bad monetary policies, government, policies that really accentuated these problems and hurt more people than they did good, which is one of like the fundamental Bitcoin thesis, is like a small group of people cannot control the economy. They just don't have enough information to control and make the right decisions to control a perfect outcome, though they will obviously continue to try. This is why we are Bitcoiners. This is why we have outsourced our monetary policy to an algorithm. And we know how much there be. We all know when the schedule is playing out. There is a sense of peace knowing that, hey, no one's going to mess with this. Now, what I do find the most interesting about this is not necessarily that they lost 1/3 of their, currency value in a week, which is absolutely devastating. We've heard about this stuff going on around the world in recent history, and of course in ancient history. Like, this is, as Nico was kind of alluding to, a problem that humanity has been dealing with constantly throughout our entire history of humanity. The thing that is probably the most frustrating when you see stuff like this happen is like, we have the tool now. Like, we have something that fixes this. We have something that you can opt out to, something that, well, it's literally designed to oppose this very thing. And obviously, there is still a lot of pushback from normal people. There's still a lot of misunderstanding. There's still a learning curve that people need to kind of get to before they understand Bitcoin. Though I have heard rumors, and I never been there, but I have heard rumors that there is like a growing, Bitcoin Iranian kind of community out there. So they are trying, and it's very unfortunate to see scenarios like this when it's on a mass scale, when you're out here trying as best as we can to get as many people on the exit route, on the safety boat as possible. And like literally, this is why we Bitcoin, because this isn't just something that's going to happen in the Middle East. If this year was any indicator of what's going to happen everywhere around the globe, is that we are all probably going to be in some form of global hyperinflationary scenarios right now. We are all going down the same path. As Lynn Alden always says, there's no stopping this train. As Larry Lepard always says, it's like the big print is coming. Though I think a lot of people underestimate just how big of a print actually is needed to just paper over the scenario that we currently find ourselves, the bind that we currently find ourselves in. And so, Nico, you did ask a question, is this just a part of human nature here that
I'm convinced that like most people want, like, they don't really care about freedom.
I mean, if this year was any indication of that, I agree.
I think like most people,
though they do care about economics, even though economics is boring.
I think most people they're willing to give up that freedom if it means that they have perceived safety.
Yeah,
and
facts.
I think like this is where we are. Like people are asking in the chat saying, "Hey Nico, so does this mean elections don't matter?" I say elections still do matter for sure, but like if before in the beginning of the year, I would say elections maybe hold 30 to 40% of importance. I would say taking Bitcoin into self-custody is the most important vote you can make. And I think that I'm going to put 80 to 90% of importance on that and 20 to 10% on elections, because I think that the system is too far gone for you to fix it with a specific candidate going in there and changing things. I think the system is so entrenched that it's just not going to change. And I think that it's so addicted to the money printer. It's so that like it's just not incentivized to change. Like you had Elon Musk, someone who literally invented self-landing rockets and self-driving cars, and literally they ran him out of town, right? So again, like I think elections do matter, but instead of putting so much importance on them, and we will talk about the midterms. Like it's not like they don't matter. Of course they matter. We ultimately did get Ross free, so some good things did come out of that. But I think that this is a long-term process. It's going to take many decades. It's also going to take changing the culture. And it's also going to take more people wanting freedom. Like that's the reality of this situation, because I don't think any of these politicians would be able to do what they're doing with these central bank digital currencies if people actually really gave a flying F about sovereignty, about freedom, about speech. I think that if the majority of people actually cared about those things, then we wouldn't be in the situation that we are in now. And what a lot of people have to understand, especially about the United States, America, and like free countries around the world, is that throughout most of human history, that wasn't the norm. The norm was there was always a ruler. There was always a strong man. There was always a dictator. There was always a king, and he made the rules, and you went along with the rules. The problem is that how the current system functions is that it hides behind the legitimacy of democracy, right? So essentially, oh, this is a democracy, therefore it's legitimate, therefore we can do whatever you want. But we can do whatever we want because essentially we're doing it for your own good. What we've learned this year is that this system, it might be democratic on paper, but those elections really don't hold that much weight in terms of who's in power and who makes the rules. The United States is definitely not as bad as Europe, where like literally the president, the Ursula von whatever, she's like an unelected bureaucrat. It's not as bad as it is in Europe, but it's still pretty bad. Like, elections matter for sure, to answer your question, bro. But I think that the only way we're really going to fundamentally change the system is by more people becoming Bitcoiners and more people taking self-custody of their Bitcoin. If not, I think it's just things are just going to continue to get worse. It's my honest opinion, man. I mean, we played you guys a video of one of the Rothschilds literally saying how much control they have over the governments yesterday. And like 5 years ago, that was essentially labeled a conspiracy theory, right? So yeah, anyways, let's get to the culture. We're going to do a Simply Bitcoin 2025 recap, go down memory lane. We're going to be right back in just a bit.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, HIVE Digital Technologies. Fueled by clean energy, HIVE has quadrupled its global Bitcoin mining footprint and channels that same scale into high performance compute, where their AI cloud is now ranked #1 in the world for network performance. At HIVE, you've got dual engines, Bitcoin and AI humming, roaring, accelerating in unison. They're lean and mean, they're green and clean, and they're rewriting the playbook on sustainable digital infrastructure. You can catch the latest buzz at Hive Digital Tech or at hivedigitaltech.com. I want to give a shout out to our partner, bitcoinben.io. If you're into freedom, Bitcoin, and building a real community, this is for you. Gain exclusive access to real-world, members-only, private clubs across the globe, featuring poker nights, expert-led classes, co-working spaces, educational meetups, live events, and more. Current locations include Sarasota, Nashville, Boston, Dallas, Las Vegas, and St. Louis, with new clubs launching soon in West Palm Beach, Scottsdale, Alabama, and beyond. Not to mention Bitcoin Ben's resorts in El Salvador. There's 3 of them, and they're absolutely beautiful. You'll also get access to the first fully backed Bitcoin bank with fiat ramps and savings accounts. It's called Private Key Bank. And you guessed it, it's based out of El Salvador. Go peer-to-peer with Bitcoin bulk buys. Tap into home equity for long-term Bitcoin growth. And join their exclusive mining pools if you're interested in mining. What are you waiting for? Head over to bitcoinben.io. Join today, where Bitcoin meets freedom.
All right, everybody, we are back. 2025, man. What a year for Simply Bitcoin. Wide shot, dude.
Well, you were talking.
What a year for Simply Bitcoin. We broke 100K on YouTube, thanks to you guys. So many notable interviews. Paolo Arduino, CEO of Tether, Senator Lummis in the beginning of the year, never interviewed a U.S. senator, or gone to Washington, D.C. With the goal of interviewing a U.S. senator. So that was a crazy experience. And then interviewing, so many notable people throughout the year. Jack Cruz, which you haven't dropped that episode yet.
Dude, wait, are we going to get the Jack Cruz interview in 2026?
We are going to get it in 2026, and it's going to be on the Simply Bitcoin website. We'll keep you guys informed. But, so many incredible experiences, so many interviews, so many location interviews. The Jeff Booth interview that we did for you guys, 300,000 views on YouTube. Building out the studio, which apparently we launched at the top of
literally at the top
of a bull market.
We should have known.
Michael Saylor's 100K party, which again we should have known. the election of Donald Trump, watching the inauguration, a lot of high hopes. And Simply Bitcoin as a business, we've grown tremendously. Thanks to you guys, thanks to our partners. Shout out to our partners. We would not be on air without our partners and without you guys watching us. So we really appreciate it. It's been really a breakout year for us. Maybe the price hasn't broken out, but for us as a media company, bootstrapped, we've definitely come a long way. We're also 5 years old, man.
Dude, we're boomers.
We're 5 years old. 5 years we've been doing this. And it's been quite a journey this year. And I don't know how 2026 is going to top it, man. So I'll wait and see. And so many conferences, so much traveling.
That's how it's going to change. Less conferences.
Yeah. So we're not going to be traveling as much next year. We're definitely going to be traveling way less next year. We're going to be focusing mostly on making content. And we're also working on some things with our website that you guys are going to absolutely love. But yeah, it's been an incredible year. So much accomplished. Again, the big highlights for me are the location interviews, the Lugano interviews that you guys have been seeing on the channel. A lot of fun. And interviewing some pretty notable people. That was pretty effing cool as well. And then finally the build out of the studio, which again, that to me and Opti from like a psychological perspective felt so important because like we actually feel like we're going to work now every day while we're prepping the show, like backstage in our green room that we have
Wait,
here.
should we do the before and after? Remember
we have a picture of
we have a picture of the old setup that we were using.
Yeah, it was literally
it was
guys,
horrible.
it was literally
It was
like
horrible.
a green screen. Like before it was a green screen, like how it started, it was a green screen in my room.
Literally green screens in our mother's basements.
Yeah, literally. And then it became a green screen in my living room. And then it like actually, manifested into a studio where we are now. So that was pretty surreal. So again, yeah, and then Opti has the power of the switcher now. Dangerous. So
Hey, don't touch my soundboard. Get out of here. Get out of here.
He upgraded from the soundboard to actual
dude.
video
I
switcher.
I can do this. Yeah, guys, I should have done this a long time ago. Just no Nico, mute him. No, I'm trolling. All right. My kind of takeaway here.
How could I forget, bro? We were literally at the NASDAQ this year.
Oh yeah, NASDAQ. Crazy.
So, like Opti's picture behind him.
Look,
Opti's picture behind him. Like getting
looking like the president over here.
Getting to be a part of.
Look at it. Look at that stud.
Getting to be a part.
Look at that jawline on that picture.
Getting to be a part of, the launch of a publicly shout out to HIVE, of course, HIVE Digital Technologies. Go follow them. Go check them on the NASDAQ HIVE. Getting to be a part of the ceremony and being on TV while they rang the bell. And what got us there was being YouTubers was effing crazy, bro. Like that was wild. That was a crazy experience. So yeah, I mean, it's been a wild ride. It's been a wild year for us. Unfortunately, the price didn't follow the wild ride that we.
There's always next year.
There's always next year.
It's always next year. All right. 2025 recap. The cons. I was not the happiest at all these conferences. That was not fun. So hopefully next year we do less conferences. I love seeing you guys at the conferences, but working the conferences, bro, I'm sure if you guys saw me at the conferences, I'd be like laying on the floor midday, just like my back's hurting. It's like 12-hour days. So that was probably the low point for me, is going to too many conferences, but it was fun. It was good work. What I'm personally most proud of is basically us launching the studio, and from our company view, we 3x'd our views this year from last year, And, I don't want to be as optimistic next year that we'll 3x our views from here next year, but I do want to do a double. I would like to double our views. So I'm going to do kind of, a neutrally bullish take on where we will be next year. Obviously, if we get some good price action next year, 2026, I think we can blow all the expectations out of the water. As you guys saw throughout the year, the Bitcoin being a stable coin all year long, it was kind of rough. We really had no clue what was going on. We were trying to rationalize and cope a lot of the times about what was happening. But Bitcoin literally going sideways, or rather, sideways and down all year long. That was a rough journey, to say the least, especially just probably because we were expecting it to be a parabolic year. But from a company perspective over here at Simply Bitcoin, I think it's pretty crazy to just look at what we did at the beginning of the year to what we're doing now at the end of the year. And it's been up and to the right, or up and to the right. We're gaining views. Rustin's been killing it. Dante's killing it. We added Sophie to the roster. Oceans is locking in, making some really cool content. Nico and I spazzing out here in the studio. Like, it's been an amazing year. I think this year, Nico, and you might have to fact check me here, but I think this year we have been the most watched Bitcoin YouTube throughout the whole year.
Yeah, that's official. We are literally the most watched Bitcoin only YouTube channel on planet Earth for 2025.
Let's go.
That was a very
we want to maintain the dominance next year. I might be less humble next year if we continue to dominate. I know I wasn't that humble this year. But yeah, that feels really good, man. Like from a what we've done as a media brand this year, it's just felt really awesome. I mean, obviously, creating a studio at the top was probably not the smartest idea, but at least it feels good coming to work every single day. We've added some awesome team members. Our views throughout all of our content has like minimum 3x. That's just YouTube 3x. I'm sure I didn't even look at what happened on Twitter or Nostr or Rumble. Shouts out to the guys over at Rumble. Rumble has been doing really strong.
Yes, shout out to Rumble.
Yeah.
The Rumble audience, the Rumble channel is blowing the F up.
Yeah, exactly. And so I really just want to continue what we've been doing this year, get better. And look, you guys, you guys know I'm in the chat with you guys, so I see all the criticism in the chat. Give me some time and I'll work through everything. I'm going to try to iterate on everything we've been doing, try to get, our titles better, our thumbnails better, the show better, maintain the bullishness here, and hopefully really break out of just the Bitcoin echo chamber that we've kind of like really secured this year. So next year, that's my hope. I want to, double everything we've been doing, just keep doing what we're doing. And shouts out to the Twitter team. You guys have been killing it. We've had a lot of shakes up this year, but I think we really solidified our team members. And I just want to give a huge shout out to every one of us over here at Simply Bitcoin. You guys don't see everyone behind the scenes. We got a huge team and they're all fucking badasses. They're all on the mission. They're all ride or die. Nico and I just gave them some rifles. They went up the hill, and few of them, metaphorically. And the ones that made it to the top, they're goats. So shouts out to all of them. But really, before I go, because again, guys, we are going to take tomorrow off. I don't know if you guys can hear, but I am kind of sick. And, I still might go out and have a couple drinks tonight, celebrate New Year's. But before I go, I really, 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 from the bottom of my heart, want to give a huge shout out to every single one of you guys that has watched any second of Simply Bitcoin content throughout the year. Like Nico said a minute ago, we wouldn't be here without you guys. Like you guys in the chat that hang out with me every single day. Even if you're trolling me, you still feel like family. Like you guys are here with us every day, the diehards. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Keep trolling us, keep talking shit in the chat. It means the world to me. All the love you guys have given me this year. Like, Nico and I have said it before, like you guys changed our lives. And, I want to do the best I can to deliver you guys value every single day. You know, sometimes we're not perfect. We're human. Some days are better than others, but you guys keep showing up every single day. That's what makes it worth it, guys. So help us spread the message. Let's get more people to stack Bitcoin, have more people take Bitcoin into custody. Like, we are going to win, guys. We're going to win. It's going to take some work. You know, like Nico said it in the last segment, I do believe this is a generational movement. This isn't just going to happen in 4 or 5 years. I think if you're here today, if you're, you know, at any age, I think we're going to be doing this for forever. I think maybe in like 30, 40 years, we can look back and realize like, oh yeah, everyone's using Bitcoin. But as I said, at some point in the middle of the year, I'm like, guys, I think at this point, we all got to lock in and realize like, we're doing this forever. This is our lives now. There is no like, oh, 5 years, it's over, we won. I think this is going to be, you know, for decades to come. So let's just hope we can make it over the finish line in the next 5, 10, 20 plus years, guys. So anyways, again, peace, love. I love you guys. Happy New Year's, all that good stuff. You guys really mean the world to us.
Absolutely. I mean, I can't top that. So guys, Happy New Year. We love you guys. We appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much. We wouldn't be here without you. It's the last SB live episode for 2025. We'll catch you guys.
Wait, last thing. Nico, are you going to be so bearish next year?
Let's see what happens. We'll catch you guys next year. Take it easy, everybody.
Today's episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.